All right, so let's go and start with the latest news, and that is Jordan Reed. Yes, you saw it. He's going to IR. It was fun while it lasted. Now, he's not going to be gone forever. Right now, you see the bottom of the screen there. We'll miss 6 to 8 weeks. But he suffered an ankle injury on Sunday and then also suffered a sprained MCL in his knee on Sunday, both of which are bad and both of which mean the tight end is going to go ahead and head to the IR. Here was Kyle Shanahan just after the game on Sunday saying, quote, he had an unfortunate injury, recovered from the ankle there, but ended up spraining his MCL where when he came back. I know he's disappointed in that, but nothing is going to affect him after that. He'll hit his rehab hard, and hopefully we can weather the storm while he's gone, and he'll come back to a good team. So 6 to 8 weeks for Jordan Reed. Does it stink? Yes, because I think Jordan Reed was poised to have a very good season as a 49er. I think he showed that in limited action over the first couple of weeks. The problem is, as we've seen it in his career and probably why he had been a free agent for so long, he's an injury-prone guy. So 6 to 8 weeks means he's going to miss a big chunk of the year. But no fear, because the hope is you get George Kittle back either this week or next week. And so really, you're not missing a lot. And plus, Ross Dwelley is going to be able to fill in just fine for Jordan Reed during his absence. Again, I mentioned limited playing time, but still, when he caught the football, it looked pretty good, right? 7 catches, 50 yards, and 2 touchdowns, as we predicted, a massive red zone target. And for whatever reason, Jimmy Garoppolo and maybe the Kyle Shanahan offense, big fan of throwing to their tight ends in the red zone. And so Jordan Reed was benefiting from that. I almost grabbed him on my fantasy team, and he got injured. And so obviously he'll ride the waiver wire for the next 6 to 8 weeks. But this will be good, though, in terms of Kittle's going to come back. He'll get in the flow with Kittle. And then eventually, halfway through the season, week 10 or 11 or 12, Reed will be able to come back as well. And you'll have a double two tight end look that the 49ers were hoping to have at the beginning of the season. So obviously we start with the latest news on Jordan Reed, and that leads us into a George Kittle update. And the news is mixed, right? So obviously he had the week 1 knee sprain against Arizona. So he's going to be assessed after practice on Wednesday. We'll talk more about why Wednesday's a big day in 49er land later on in the show. But Wednesday's the day where we'll probably have an update on George Kittle, probably end of day Wednesday or morning Thursday, if he's going to be suited up and ready to go on Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. The fact it's Sunday night versus not Sunday morning helps out a little bit with his chances. But again, they'll know on Wednesday if he's going to be good to go or not. I think the expectation is if I was going to put money on it, he probably won't play. Let me say that again. If I was going to bet, I have no insider information, just kind of based on where he's been at the past couple of weeks in his rehab, I would bet he misses this game and then is back week 5 against the Miami Dolphins. But if he looks good enough, then hopefully he goes out there. And I think I trust the 49ers to not throw out a Jordan Reed who is not 100% and just so that for him to go ahead and get injured. Do they need him on Sunday? No, the Eagles are not that great of a defense overall. They're ranked pretty high, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but they've been giving up a ton of yardage to tight ends. The Rams game with Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee roasted the Eagles a couple of weeks ago, and so you could hope that Ross Dwelley could slide right in there and be just fine. But either way, whether he's there or not, I don't think it makes a big difference in the over-under for the 49er game. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. But the fact that I trust Ross Dwelley and what I've seen from him so far, I think is positive enough for 49er fans to go ahead and understand what they're getting into from the tight end spot. So it's not the best news to start the show. Obviously, Jordan Reed injured. He's going to be out for a while. Kittle still up in the air. We'll know more tomorrow whether or not he's going to be ready to go for Sunday. But do know that the majority of the 49er injuries are temporary ones that will just have their players come back eventually. It's not a bunch of guys on IR, never to be seen again this year. It's guys who are banged up, like a Deebo Samuel, like even a Jordan Reed or a George Kittle. But eventually they're going to go ahead and come back. I think that's good news overall for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not that worried overall. I'm just not that worried overall in terms of where we are at with this injury. But at the same time, I want to hear from you guys. So let me know in the comment section down below how worried you guys are about the Week 4 injury report on a scale from 1 to 10. If you're super worried, type 10 in the comment section as I read it here on my phone. If you're not worried at all, then type 1 down below. I'm going to go somewhere in between there at the same time. Scale from 1 to 10, how worried are you? I'm probably like a 6 or a 7 right now. I'm really not that worried overall. I'm seeing some people say 4. Someone's just said a 5 overall, 7. Yeah, I'm middle of the pack. To me, it's not that big of a deal. But at the same time, it would be nice to be healthy at least later on in the National Football League season because they're going to need these guys a little bit later on. A lot of 5s, a lot of 4s in the chat there. Yeah, that looks just about right. 3, I'm more worried than a 3. A 3 would be like, whatever. There's still some big-name players. Jordan Reed's a big-name player. But at the same time, again, I'm going to go with a 6 or a 7 because I think the 49ers have had an easy schedule so far. And with going in the future, Eagles and even Dolphins next week, pretty easy wins, I think, for the 49ers, which is good news for people who bet on games like this, and that's someone that I include myself in here. We had a great partner with us. BetUS is the place that you go really to win money on the 49ers. Right now, go to chatsports.com/49bet. You get a 125% deposit bonus whenever you first sign up using that promo code Niners125. So you just put your deposit bonus down at checkout, promo code Niners125, 125%. So $100 turns into $225 to go ahead and bet on the 49ers, who, guess what, are favorites again. I talked about this last week with the Giants. I said, listen, they're mega favorites against the Giants. If you bet on them, you're probably going to win some money, and here you are. Over-under is 45. They are 7-point favorites right now. That's shifted from 6.5, so it's going in the favor of San Francisco from yesterday. So you put money on San Francisco, the odds are you're going to go ahead and hit it big and win some cash for your weekend. Again, chatsports.com/49bet. Your promo code is Niners125. Get those links, as you see down below here on the screen. All right, we'll move on to more injury news here. The ones you guys are all waiting for and wanting to know. It's Deebo Samuel. And so obviously with Deebo Samuel, the question really is, when is he going to be coming back? And as you go ahead and look at the screen right now, I think the good news is that Deebo is soon to return, but the odds of him actually being ready to go for Sunday are still a game time decision. Much like with George Kittle, it'll take till Wednesday to really know if they're going to put him back out of the football field or not. Here's what Kyle Shanahan said just a couple of days ago in terms of Deebo Samuel. Quote, I'm optimistic he'll be back next week. He had a real good week last week, hitting the rehab hard with all those guys, just being able to watch him work out here on the side. He looks really good running routes, and he's been able to do it without pain, so I expect him to be back next week. Now, with that being said, Rapoport said this a little bit later on. So Shanahan said that on Friday, I think, before the Sunday game. Rapoport said this, again, you see that just a couple of days ago, quote, Deebo Samuel should return to practice this week for San Francisco, sources said, but the current plan is to ease him in off injured reserve. Samuel likely returns to the field on game day on October 11th versus the Dolphins rather than next Sunday versus the Eagles. So I'm not optimistic about Jordan Reed. I'm also not optimistic based on what Rapoport just said there about Deebo Samuel. I think the odds of Samuel playing on Sunday are very, very slim. They're not going to want to rush him back because, again, the foot injury is a type of injury that you do not want to re-aggravate, or else he's going to go back to IR and be out for weeks and weeks and weeks. So the odds of him being out there, not that great, even if he were cleared. And even if he were going to go ahead and play, I wouldn't start him on like my fantasy team. He's on my bench right now because the amount of snaps he's going to get to me are not going to be that high. So don't put your hopes and all of your dreams in on Deebo Samuel playing this week. Now, again, when he finally gets back on the football field, I expect big things. And we all expect that and know that and understand that. But the 49er wide receiver group needs him back, and hopefully he's going to be back sooner rather than later. But the odds of him actually being out there on Sunday, to me, are not that great. The good news is, again, they don't really need him. Like, the Eagles aren't a bad secondary. Darius Slay's a pretty good cornerback, and he'd probably be shadowing Deebo Samuel for the entire game. But at the same time, they don't need him to win, right? Like, what do you guys think? You think that they really need Deebo Samuel to beat the 0-2-1 Eagles right now on Sunday? Type Y down below for yes, type N down below for no. Now, we'll talk more about Philadelphia in a little bit. I think Philadelphia can be one of those dangerous winless teams that could put up a fight, right? The defense is not that bad. But the 49ers showed the past couple of weeks, you don't need Deebo Samuel out there to go ahead and be productive. And Brandon Ayuk looked really good last week, and he's only going to get better, like we said he would this offseason, just like Deebo Samuel did last year. Started slow, finished strong. So what happens with rookie wide receivers? It's just the nature of the National Football League. So let me know what you guys think. Again, seeing a lot of N's down below in the comment section, which honestly, I mean, I don't blame you guys. A lot of N's overall. David says why, but at the same time, you know, I think the Eagles are going to be interesting, but not a big threat to San Francisco. While we're at it, because I mentioned Wednesday, tomorrow, and also Thursday being the big days for all the 49er injury news, we'll have it covered here. So go ahead and make sure you're subscribed, chatsports.com YouTube.com/49ers TV, place to go ahead and subscribe. The link is down below in the description box. Click that and click the notification bell. That way you guys are notified, because again, I'll be coming on here as soon as we have the official update. So I bet on Thursday's video, we'll update you on both Kittle and Samuel and the rest of the injuries. So stay tuned for that by hitting the sub button. Okay. I mentioned that we had a lot of decent news, right? And again, the whole big focus here is obviously that a lot of these guys are going to go ahead and be back sooner rather than later. The big news is that Deebo Samuel is going to be headed to IR. So a lot of people are excited about, Dee Ford is going to be headed to IR. So Samuel is going to come back soon. George Kittle is going to come back soon. Dee Ford does not look like he's going to be back anytime soon as his back issues continue to flare up, which he's been dealing with since week 2. He's not going to play on Sunday. That's officially been said and could be placed on that short-term IR to where he's going to be out for the next 3, 4, and maybe even 5 weeks. Here was Kyle Shanahan just the other day on Dee Ford, quote, he's not going to play this week. We should decide in the next few days whether to put him on short-term IR or not. We haven't decided yet. We'll see how it goes here in the next few days. So much like the Deebo news, much like the George Kittle news, when we know, you guys will know, so stay tuned for that. Here are your linemen in terms of D linemen on IR right now. Obviously, Bosa, obviously Thomas. Blair is on the pup list right now. Julian Taylor with the ACL. And then, of course, Dee Ford right there in the middle, still questionable with that back. Like we said, he's not going to play this week. Odds are he's not going to play the next couple of weeks. And so the question is, will he put on short-term or long-term IR? That is yet to be seen. So here is your 49er defensive line. Raise your hand if by week 4, this is the 49er defensive line you were expecting. Raise your hand. No, I wasn't doing it. Man, it's tough. It's tough. Dee Ford last year played 22% of all defensive snaps for the 49ers, not cutting it for the money he's getting paid, about $14 million this year. And here we go again. Has not played since week 2, and he's not going to be playing until maybe week 7, week 8, maybe week 9 or 10. It's going to be a while because the back keeps flaring up. It's a whole issue right now, and they just cannot get him healthy and on the football field. So on an injury-packed news and rumor video, we are covering everything that's going bad right now, which is just the injury part of San Francisco. So send them some love. Give the video a thumbs up right now to give them and wish them good vibes to all the injured players, right? Get some nice chi in the room. I can feel it now. Click the thumbs up button, and they'll all be healed faster and faster. Not really, but hopefully. Give me a thumbs up right now.